Here we go.
Good evening, Melrosians the world over. I am Tom Catalini.
I'm Sam Hammer.
And I'm Jen LeClaire.
And this is Let's Talk Melrose. Melrose, it's a show where Melrosians talk to Melrosians about Melrose. And where the heck is Tom Shampoo?
Somewhere else. But I didn't want to jump into this, but I miss him terribly. But also, I think our trio is pretty fantastic. We travel together. No.
Well, true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true on many levels. That's right. Yes, and I miss Tom, but apparently Sam's happy with the trio. Because what was the big event in town?
Yeah, we did okay this weekend.
Yes,
yeah, just
did.
yesterday, right? We went down to the Victorian Fair, and it was kind of humbling to see our fans and just to be recognized all over the place. So we did an appearance at MMTV, Julie Nolan, at the center stage to greet the fans. It was quite a crowd. The crowd kind of rushed the stage at one point. Might have been because we were giving out free candy.
Might have been the candy. It's okay. We know how to appeal to the people.
Yep.
We followed the dance team, so we knew the audience.
But so it was great to be part of the MMTV community and to see Julie live on the air and to receive the accolades of our many fans. Mm-hmm. And then before you know it, we're on the mayor's broadcast. Because he had a show happening at the Victorian Fair as well. And it was so much fun. But there were so many great things to see. We stopped by the Melrose High School Gay Straight Alliance booth. Yep. Sam also had a throwdown with the mayor. This one's going to be for our caption contest. We also met Jim McCoy, the real McCoy. The fan of the show and future guest. A very interesting guy, had a lot to say. Mike Karaji, now retired Patch reporter.
We confirmed that he is alive and well.
Yeah, with his son Henry, and we met his wife and his mom, and actually he and I had some Indian food at the Indian food booth there.
Oh, cool.
And we also met Mike's successor to the throne, Dakota Antleman, over by the dumpster behind the Knights of Columbus.
The dumpster, which is where they staged us while we were waiting to go on.
Where we did a sideways live broadcast. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a Victorian Fair without Hannah Olek in her handmade costumes to celebrate, which
that's amazing.
Which got a chance to check out
brilliant. And some
a little more closely.
Adorable Victorian ladies.
So I mean,
they wore Ray-Bans. They wore Ray-Bans back in the Victorian days,
right?
That's right. Totally.
I mean, it was tons of fun, right? We saw
big,
the people in town.
Yeah, big shout out to Stephanie Nelson and everybody at the Chamber of Commerce for pulling it off. Everybody loves it.
That was good. It was fun. And we Jen and I only made it through half of it. We didn't even make the south half, but it took us quite a while to walk through. It was nice. It was nice to kind of catch up with people and do a Melrose experience that's been coming back from years before. So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes. And we are going to talk about years and centuries before with our guest tonight. Wayne Wold is here to talk about the Melrose Memorial Hall and a special concert happening there soon. So we'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. But a lot of, carrying forward a lot of the history of Melrose right here up into the present day. And the Victorian Fair connects us like that.
Yeah, right. It's cool. It's very cool. But before we move on to the news, I did have to give a shout out for the hero of the moment. So we were down at the Lincoln School earlier today, and one of my kids, Sammy, was still figuring out how to ride a bike. He's been super nervous. Tom did try to teach him once, but he's been so anxious to ride. So anyway, he was really struggling, and he was down there for over an hour persisting. And I looked over in the playground, and there was the best biker in town, No Fun Finn, Finn McSweeney. So I went over, I'm like, give me some notes. Like, what do we do here? So he was super helpful in getting Sammy on the bike. We did realize it was his gears were too high. So he was struggling with the gears.
Okay.
A stranger happened upon us and helped us with that one. Just kidding. It was Matt Dugan. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to give a shout out for Finn was because he's doing amazing coverage on new developments in town. I'm going to put his blog post here from Medium. It's a good read.
That.
Go ahead.
No, no, you finished this one. It is really a good read about the possibilities and how we can be and should be thinking about placemaking and new developments in the city, particularly those that are literally right across the street from our public transit, in an environment that is in a part of Melrose, just a little bit of an offshoot from downtown that could use a bit of a boost in terms of people friendly and retail style development to give people some stuff to do there, some places to hang out. So did you put it up there?
I did. So take a read. It's a very long, thorough read. So I'm super impressed. He just has the passion for this. And then we'll try to digest it and talk more about it on the show, and then figure out like when these public meetings are and how we advocate for more human interest in the space, and more opportunities for people to sit and gather and enjoy the space where there's opportunity right now. So that was it. No Fun Finn. Hats off to you. Twice in a week.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's great to have that all in one place. He consolidated a lot of information there. It's very thorough stuff, and it's great to be able to go to one spot and get a lot of the resources. So
right, and there's some interesting comparisons to like other developments and other parts of town that are doing things different. Like it just kind of shows like what the possibilities are and the way we can think about things. I thought it was really good.
Okay, so read it, and then
Finn and everyone at the Bike Ped Commission or committee, they're super smart and they do great work, and they advocate for human-centered development in our community, which we all appreciate.
That's going to transition well into the news.
Okay.
So we talked about this last week. There was an unfortunate car accident where somebody lost their life on Linfell's Parkway, and the Ped Bike Committee actually has a post about this. So the residents in the area were very upset, and they did an open letter to the community, to the head of the DCR and some other elected officials, and really put that. But if you're just if you're not one of these bloggers and you're just going about your business, like how do you get some airtime for that? So the Ped Bike Committee had a place to house this letter, so that this could be posted somewhere for all of us to read. And then there are links to a petition if you agree with them and want the politicians and the DCR to do something about this, which I did sign, I would tell you, because there have been a number of sections of the Linfell's Parkway, which is all under the DCR purview, that we've talked about over many episodes here, stretching really from one end of Melrose to the other. We've talked about different points, including right in the middle there by Melrose Street, which it was like this very underwhelming kind of final recommendation from what I remember after lots of ideas being talked about. So this place where there's a series of crashes, something needs to be done. That's clear. And it's a little bit hard to figure out how to get the DCR to respond in a way that is quick and comprehensive and responsive to the community needs. We're in this weird situation where it's our city, but that roadway and everything, the sidewalks and everything related to that roadway are under the purview of the Mass DCR. So, so even if the mayor and the city council and everybody wants to do something, like we still need the DCR to do it. So it's hard to figure out how to do that. I don't know. Sam probably knows how we're going to get this done.
I was glad I didn't have to comment on that, but I'm not really sure the bureaucracy is unbeknownst to me on that stuff. But I think that the petition is a good thing to sign, and I think we just have to keep advocating. Luckily, we have some local folks in town who can help navigate us through that. So that, no pun intended, although it was pretty on point.
Oh, that was pretty good. The puns are always intended.
But earlier today, so speaking of advocating, I'm putting the link to the Patch article about Melrose educators hold March, note goals for new contract with some photos. So thanks to the Patch again for reporting on the Melrose Public School teachers have started this year working without a contract. The union has been asking for folks to get involved and advocate and speak on their behalf. Of course, I'm always going to speak on behalf of teachers and educators, having done that work myself and sending my kids in there and understanding what they go through every day.
Right.
But I also had the privilege of going to the citywide PTO meeting this morning as co-president of the Lincoln PTO.
Oh,
so we did hear.
Yeah.
I know. So we did hear from Superintendent Kuchenberger first on this issue, and there are, I can talk through how many staff positions are not filled. But she mentioned that there's obviously nationally there's a teacher hiring and staffing crisis, but locally in Massachusetts is not as bad as it is nationally, but in Melrose specifically, what she's found is that it's harder to find a pipeline of folks who are going to get educated in education and then wanting to get into the teaching profession. So she equates not all of it, but a lot of it is around not being able to staff up because of a lack of pipeline. So postings sit and they linger without sometimes without folks even applying. So also in that meeting
is this, can I ask a question? Is this tied into, I mean, I don't know I don't have the number. I don't have access to like the numbers, but you hear often about teachers that start here and then leave the district because we're one of the lower paying districts. Is that part of the same challenge? Like that our starting, our new teacher salaries are also less competitive than other places? Like great question.
So Mary Sparks, I think her name is, she was a parent representative also from the CPAC, and Lisa Donovan, who's the head of the union here, went through some of the unfilled positions for whatever reason. There are 54 of them throughout the district, and we're not that big to have that big of a gap. Yeah. 43 provide direct services to students, including 30 paras. I think we're down 9 paras in the Lincoln. And again, paras are usually assigned legally for students with needs that require an extra person to be with them to get them through their education through the day. 8 are special ed teachers, including moderate and severe special needs, 2.5 school psychologists, and 2 special ed coordinators. So we talked a little bit more about the para situation because there are so many that we need to fill. And we talked, there was a discussion around salary and starting salary. So again, paras work 6 hours a day, 180 days a year, and make $18,000 a year. So that's $16 an hour to have a trained human come and work with our most moderate and severe needs students.
I think you can make more, seriously, no kidding, at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's if you're in that's the first 2 years. If you've been a paraprofessional in our district for 11 plus years and you've gone through all of the pay hikes, that salary goes up to around $25,000 per year. For we're hoping for a trained professional to work with the students that need extra support the most. So that in and of itself was, we've heard these stats before, but it was shocking. It was disheartening, a little discouraging, disappointing, all the negative adjectives. But I don't know exactly what it will take for us to be able to recorrect that in a serious way, like with really prioritizing and making the commitment. I trust that we have the commitment to our public school education, but what is it really going to take for us to be able to appropriately pay people a living wage and then some for the work that they do for our kids?
For the students, yeah. Wow.
Tom?
So, I'm not an administrative or educational professional, but I would say one of the things we might need is money to pay them more. So this is like what I think they say in the biz, like a structural deficit that needs to be corrected. But I do wonder, right, what happened to all the money that was flowing post COVID, and we're going to catch up, and we're going to do this, that, and the other. Like, where did all the money go? I felt like at one point there was money. We talked about it here on the show, like money going to trains and infrastructure and education. And then the next thing you know, the Orange Line is on fire and people are jumping off the bridge and we can't fill 54 positions because we don't pay them. So I don't know what's going on in this crazy world. The money ain't flowing.
We need to have a show called Show Me the Money.
Show me the money.
Because I think the 8.5 million over X number of years is
spent a lot of it, and it's really that's millions. That's only around for like 2 years, and I think we spent over half last time I clicked on a link somewhere. And it's going to good infrastructure stuff, but this is more operating budget.
Yeah. Well,
but anyway, let's keep moving before we get into the nitty gritty.
So speaking of operating budget, I'm super excited I was excited to read that our municipal buildings will be temporarily closed on September 20th from 9:45 a.m. to 12:15, and at the city yard for the rest of the day, 12:45 to 3:15, because our city employees will be going through some anti-harassment and discrimination mandatory training, which I think is pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome.
So I'm okay with City Hall being shut down for a bit for some good discussions and training.
Yep, I agreed. And that's citywide. That's a big undertaking.
I just like that it's getting that level of attention. Like you shut the thing down and get everybody in the room is different than like, oh, you must do this mandatory thing online. And
right, it's like shutting down the Orange Line. Like you got to just like you got to
do it.
Yeah. You got to do it and get it done.
All right, what else is shut down but now open?
Yay, the library.
Oh my gosh, I ran into Ginny Rowe on the street.
She's the best. She's the best.
Her commute is a lot closer now.
Oh, really?
Yep. She said the library is open at the BB. Come on down. They had a very busy day.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. We should go down there and
we should.
Take some video. I've never been in the building. Have you guys?
I have. Yeah. It was a long time ago. They used to run like after school. The thing when we first moved here, there was some after school thing there for a little while. Let's do that. Yeah. So library is open now at the old BB school, which is on West Foster.
I'm going to mention the next couple of things pretty quickly so we can get to our guests. So the Melrose Porch Fest is coming up on September 24th. That's go to melroseporchfest.org and learn more about that. Citywide yard sale shortly thereafter on October 8th. But just to spend in the Melrose Symphony opening night is Saturday, November 5th at 8 p.m., celebrating Black composers of classical music. But the one thing I just want to get a little more airway to, I think you might know about this, the donation drive for Halloween costumes, since Halloween is coming up around the corner. Is one of you or both of you involved in this?
Mm-mm.
No? I thought this was like a Melrose Helps thing. Melrose Kind. That's not you guys?
We are very kind. We are very kind, but we are not the kindness warriors that Mary Beth Darwin and Stephanie Nelson are.
Is that them? Are they Melrose Kind? Okay, so they are partnering with Medford Family Network to run this month's collection event. And basically, we'll post a link to the Patch article. It was listed there. But basically, you might have old Halloween costumes that your kids have outgrown. You could donate them, and somebody in need of a costume can get that. It's helps with recycling and redistributing things in a way that's not wasteful. That I thought was pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, and we talked about the symphony. And before we get to that, do either of you know why Beethoven got rid of all his chickens?
I don't know why, Tom.
Because they kept going bok bok bok, and that leads us to our special guest. Wayne I Wold is the Church Music Institute Director and Adjunct Associate Professor of the organ at the Shenandoah University. And we didn't have any organ walk-up music, so we thought we would go with this. Wayne, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. And I've enjoyed your show so far. I've learned a lot.
Oh,
that's great. That's
Drive
great.
safely. Talk to strangers.
So we have some questions for you, but I just want to put out there right up front that the Friends of the Memorial Hall are putting on are sponsoring this concert, or have enticed you to, let's say, world-renowned expert on the organ and world-renowned performer in this category, to come to Melrose's own Memorial Hall and put on an organ concert. Wine and beer, other beverages will be sold. Tickets are $25, $10 for students. It all goes to the Friends of Melrose Memorial Hall in order to blah 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 fund interior repairs that are needed. So they're trying to spruce up the hall, right?
They're trying to spruce up the joint.
This organ's been there for something like 103 years or somewhere around that neighborhood. It's been there a good long while, but we got to keep the rest of the place up with it. And so, Wayne, you're going to be performing. Can you tell us a little bit about the program for the night on October 1st?
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, the organ is 103 years old. Doing the math, put in 1919. And it was a gift, really, by what I found about Mr. John Slayton, who's a name I'm sure many of you know. And it's a very large instrument. It's got over 4,100 pipes, built by the Austin Company of Hartford, company that's still alive and doing well. And it's like many large civic halls in New England, especially, that have pipe organs. Again, was honored to be asked to play this program to help raise funds for the hall. And I came up with a program that sort of reflects the aspects of the history of how these organs were used. As we know, most organs find themselves in churches, cathedrals, temples, synagogues, and the like. But there's a long history of organs also in concert halls and auditoriums such as this. So I've come up with a program with really 4 different sections to it. One of them is just called transcriptions, pieces written originally for other instruments, mostly orchestra, but very often that's how these organs were used. When a full orchestra wasn't there, one person could play these things. People did not have access to as much live music or recorded music, so the organ often filled in as orchestra. So I'll be playing the Overture to Carmen by Bizet, piece by Handel, Adagio for strings, and a little piece that some people know from a movie called The Mission, called Gabriel's Oboe. So after that, I move into a section of pure organ literature, music written for the organ. The organ is a great instrument for playing things written for many other instruments, but organ literature itself. So I have to start out that section with the favorite, which is, of course, by Bach.
He was watching.
Yeah, I've also included a short piece by Florence Price, who's a wonderful American composer, and more people are finding more and more of her music. She was very noteworthy, a fine composer, and the first African-American woman to have a piece performed by a major American orchestra. She wrote many other pieces, large works. I'm doing a rather short piece for organ that she wrote. Florence Price is her name. So I'm really happy to feature some of her music. I'll be playing arrangement of a spiritual Swing Low Sweet Chariot by a friend of mine, Joe Utterbeck, who lives in Connecticut. And then another famous toccata from Widor of the French tradition. So there's going to be an intermission, and then moving into a section I'm calling A Bit of Broadway, which also is typical, again, of programs that were often played on organs such as this in civic halls. So we're doing a piece to be joined by another Melrose native, Jonathan Goldblythe, who also happens to be my husband, and going to be singing Music of the Night from the Phantom of the Opera. Right?
Oh, great.
And the last section I decided just to call a tribute to the hall, which many of you know is called Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Hall.
Yeah.
Is the name of it. Doing some interesting reading on my own, built really in honor of Civil War veterans. The organ itself was really in honor of World War I veterans.
Yes.
So I'm doing a piece that I actually wrote on Eternal Father, Strong to Save. We're going to do a sing-along, a medley of a lot of the Armed Forces songs. We have to throw in God Bless America because that's sung in that building every time Rotary meets. I was there for a Rotary meeting a few weeks ago.
That's right.
And ending with another festive piece. So I'm really excited about this program, and I'm anxious to come on up a few days ahead of time and spend some more time on the organ.
That sounds great.
And in downtown and in Melrose, enjoying beautiful downtown Melrose.
Oh, I love coming to Melrose. Yes.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So let's pretend I didn't know much about the music or the program you just say.
Like, let's pretend that, Tom.
Yeah. Pretend for a minute I'm not well versed in everything you just discussed. Will there be information in the program? Will you be speaking at points to kind of educate the audience, or does the intermission include anything like that? Is there any sort of educational component, or is it kind of purely entertainment?
There'll be some of each. I will be speaking to give some background and introduction to the pieces to help with the appreciation of it. But I've been at too many concerts where people talk more than they play, and I don't like those either. So there'll be some explanations in the program, and some will be spoken. It's meant to be kind of a popular concert in that respect, quite different from some other recitals that I've played.
Yeah. So tell us, where's the most interesting place you have played?
Well, concert-wise, I've played many places across the U.S. and several places in Europe, which is always interesting to play in some of those places. But being an organist, I've spent most of my life also playing for worship services in churches. So I've done that since I think I started. I've had very few Sundays off since 1970, actually. So I hardly miss a Sunday. I've always served at church. For doing that. But for 17 years, from 96 to 2013, I had the privilege of being the music director at the chapel at Camp David, which is just a few miles north of my home here in Frederick, Maryland, just up the road in the mountains, and a military complex that's there, quite secure, as you might guess. But inside there is a chapel. See, I can't give away too many secrets here, but this much is not a secret. There is a little chapel there meant for any of the military who are stationed there and have high security clearance, but of course also for the president and the president's family and any guests that they might want to bring in. So,
that's interesting.
So I got to lead and worship through the music with 4 different presidents. So that was a special honor to be there for that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's really cool. So when you come to Melrose,
yes,
what do you like to do here? What are your favorite haunts to go back to?
Well, Judy Clark, as I mentioned, who's the one who's invited me here. By the way, the finest lawyer in all of Melrose, right? And her husband, Rich Clark. And they know the area so well. They always have interesting places to go. So within Melrose, certainly the downtown area, we have. I know many of the restaurants and many of the shops that are there. It mostly comes down to eating, I guess.
Yeah.
With some shopping thrown in. I think we've visited every ice cream place in Melrose and surrounding areas. So, but it's also
every pizza place. Had your nails done.
Yeah.
Are you a Sox fan? I'm a big Sox fan. Sox ice cream.
Oh yes, drive by that a lot. So
yes.
I've been there. I know. Yes.
Yeah. So where else do you? Well, let me say. I was going to say we talked a little bit about the different places you played, but like, what is it about these organs with all the pipes? It seems like it's a lot of rigmarole to get this thing in to be part of the building, right? And I'm not sure if we do that anymore. Like, are they installed new anywhere? Is our organ better than other organs? Like, you know what I mean? Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of the technology?
Yeah. Do we have 3 hours left here? No. Pipe organs are being built every day.
Really?
It's a fine industry that's happening. Electronic organs are making great inroads, and many of them are really quite good. But most of the time, when people are able to have a pipe organ, they usually do have that. It has always been one of the most complex, not just complex musical instruments, but even one of the most complex machines, going back to even the medieval times. It's often been so much goes into it. The carpentry work, the metal work, all the intricate physics of sound, all those things that happened. The organ at Memorial Hall, again, it's some types of music don't work as well on it. The era it was built, it was mostly interested in playing transcriptions and very romantic type music. So it's kind of a stretch to play some of the Bach on it. The organ has fallen into quite a bit of disrepair. They're getting some work done on it to try to bring to life some of the dead notes and get it back tuned in shape. So I understand it's not used very often. Some people might even be surprised to know there is an organ there. It's not, you don't see the pipes. They're all across the back of the stage and then covered up, but they definitely can be heard. So that's another part of Memorial Hall that's sort of awaiting for some attention and having some bucks thrown at it. But fortunately, the hall management itself does have some funds to help with the ongoing maintenance of it.
That's great, and I'm glad that this program that you've put together and this concert that the Friends of Memorial Hall are putting together can draw some attention to that. Memorial Hall is a much loved and really important cultural asset in our community. It's right there in the middle of town. It's the biggest hall that we have. It's got the history. It's a service to the community and honoring the veterans and being able to do programs like this and others is fantastic. So thank you.
Yeah. It's where the symphony plays. It's where there are rock and roll concerts as the kids go to these days. I've seen live wrestling matches in Memorial Hall.
Yes.
There are casino nights and fundraisers. There's a little bit of everything. So it's a gem though, right downtown. And I did talk.
We need to take care of it.
I did talk to a couple people telling them that you were going to be on the show, and they didn't know that there was an organ in place. And I've seen it in the back. If you go to the symphony or something, and you are focused on the stage, you will notice it. It's interesting to me that the symphony hasn't, to my knowledge, engaged in the organ as part of its performances that often, as far as I know. I don't know.
I believe it's used once in a while for a wintertime seasonal Christmas concert.
Okay.
Occasionally, but then they have to be careful which sets of pipes they use, because some of it needs some renovation. So I've spoken to some people who have played there from time to time, but it's not quite in a position to have a regular series again, like many civic auditoriums do. Cross Massachusetts, actually, and Maine especially, is known for many of its civic auditoriums that have organs in them. Portland, Maine is very famous for it.
Oh, really? Okay, I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, I'm going to ask a very basic question, about how the organ works. There's air going through the pipes, right?
Yep.
So, who's generating the air for you to play this thing? How does that work? Because it was 100 years old. Are you pedaling the thing? What's happening to make that work?
Well, by the time this was built, they were using electricity to supply blowers, centrifugal type blowers that supply and keep the air pressure there. But for the first couple thousand years of the organ's history, you had to have someone there pumping it. And some of the large ones, there have to be people actually would crawl up ladders and then stand on these giant bellows to do that. And in small little country churches, there was always a handle on the side. And so someone would be paid a small amount to pump it on the crank to keep it going. So you may have seen little pump organs, parlor organs that actually have the foot pedals.
Okay.
But organs like this, that would never be enough air supply, because it needs a great amount of wind pressure to keep, because you might be having several 100,000 even pipes playing all at once. So plus your feet are busy doing other things. They're playing the pedal board, playing notes with your feet. So
So you said it's a complex instrument, so you got all four limbs going at once. You're doing stuff with the feet and both hands. Yeah, wow, cool.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. Yeah. Thank you. Well, we tried to get Wayne to learn the theme song for Let's Talk Melrose to help us dance it off, but it's just such a complex
musical pieces.
Yeah, it's just such a complex piece. It's really, it's not something that anyone can just come up with at the spur of the moment.
Again, no pressure. There's still a couple of weeks left, but if you get a chance to study it up, it's a crowd pleaser. We learned that at the Victorian Fair on Sunday. Sort of.
It may someday. You may find yourself someday when you're working out sort of future programs.
Mm-hmm.
You may find yourself having to work in this, this new classic. It's just the future music lovers just we haven't gotten there yet. It's ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Who needs Bach and Broadway when you have the theme for Melrose? No,
That's right.
That's
right. Sure to be a classic.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you for being here.
Honor to be here.
Give us a call when you come into town. We'll show you. Well, you know how to get around, but
we'll hang out in a parklet and have some ice cream.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll go to Socks with you. I'm always up.
Different ice cream every day. Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, there you go. So there's one right on Main Street now, right? The what's the Mexican? The new Mexican.
With the ice cream window. Santa Fe Burrito has
Santa Fe Burrito has an ice cream window. Have you been there yet? Yeah, it's a new one to try, and it's got, I forgot the name of the ice cream from Maine, but it's very good. Anyway, so we'll grab an ice cream and we'll see you around town.
Come on.